You're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, hosted by Steve Jenny and his satanic assistant, Alex Houdini, both of whom can't go into churches without vomiting.
And welcome to Nocturnal Frequency Radio. And I just want to make a shout out to everybody in chat there who's watching on YouTube, and to all the people who are listening on the New Visions Radio Network and watching on Twitch as well. This evening, we have one of our favorite guests. And, you know, hey, it's been a long time.
It has been a long
time, Michael.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Michael.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
And look at this. We gotta love your reality background there. It's real, folks. That's real. It's not AI. It's not a figment of your imagination. He is sitting in a cemetery. So how are you, Michael?
Not bad. How are you?
Good. It's like I mentioned, it's been a long time. Like we were chatting in the green room. It's been a long time, and I know you've been really busy. You've had a lot of stuff going on. I've told people, I've mentioned you to a few people who have, wonder, oh wow, what exactly does he do with his stuff, with Mike? Just a brief synopsis, Michael. What is your aim? What is your focus with EVP, electronic voice phenomena?
Well, ever since I've been doing this, one of the things that I always looked at was trying to handle this from a scientific approach. Not that I ever thought that I would get any answers or anything myself, but I wanted to leave clear documents to what I capture, and maybe someone somewhere down the road would be able to pick up on it. But I've also been very interested in experimental and industrial music. So one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to make an art that's also science. Da Vinci said it, true art is science and true science is art. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take all the frequencies or frequencies that would be familiar to the voices that I captured, and build compositions out of the voices and the surrounding sounds and or sounds that I introduced to it that had historical or accurate relevance in a sonic and frequency sort of way, that I could create documents to leave behind that might be picked up somewhere along the line and utilized in a more enlightened scientific way.
I mean, a lot of people ask the question, and I'm sure you've been asked this so many times. What are your thoughts? Were these disembodied voices or whatever? Where are they coming? What's their origin? What do you think their origin is?
Well, it's energy, right?
Yeah.
We're all built out of energy and certain a number of chemicals, as I've talked about before. And if energy can never be created or destroyed, as Einstein had postulated, then once our corporal bodies leave, once we decay, that the energy, our memories, our personalities remain, because they're built out of energy. I was just actually, oddly enough, I was pondering a little bit in the last couple of days about the nature of energy. Because as any paranormal researcher will tell you, it's all about energy. Residual energy, active energy, left behind energy. Energy that makes us up as human beings exist after our physical bodies are gone.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I was thinking about what the nature of energy and the nature of nature actually. But a system, if you can imagine a system that creates and resolves its problems simultaneously. In other words, at the same time it's creating problems, it's also solving those problems at the exact same time. And that's perfection in nature. You know, as one problem's created, it's solved. And that's why nature is always seems perfect because it's simultaneously creating and resolving the problems.
Alex, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like with regards to our memories and our who we are essentially. You think that gets imprinted in the energy itself, or like how does? So one of my biggest things is, I mean, I get the part where energy isn't either created or destroyed, but what about who we actually are?
Well, that's a good question actually. It's one of the things I've been working on lately, thinking about lately, and doing some work on is what if when we're born, you know, DNA is passed through our bloodline, but what if when we're born, not only is DNA passed through our bloodline, but also little fragments of memory from our entire family tree, little fragments of personality, of energy. So not only is DNA passed down, but actually fragments of energy that up our entire family tree. So that would explain things like past life memories or deja vu, things that we just have no reason for knowing, or you know, certain personality traits, what you know, certain quirks about us, certain fears, phobias, likes, dislikes. You know, it's like, oh, you know, your great great aunt, blah blah blah, was afraid of water, or she drowned. You know, and you're afraid of water, or you know, for some reason I have this love of lemons, and you know, my great 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 uncle, whatever, had a lemon farm in Greece or Italy or wherever. You know, so what if our personalities are really the sum total of our entire family tree?
Oh,
You
wow.
know,
Never
what if
thought of it that way.
you know
For
what
sure.
if we pass some of that information down? So then when we die and our corporal bodies decompose and all that's left is this molecular cloud of memories of energy, are we not just the sum total of actually our entire family tree? So when I record it, like my family farm in Effingham, or I record in places where bloodline family have existed or lived or whatever, do the EVPs come over strong? You know, there's a famous EVP that I captured from my family farm in Effingham, Illinois. Um, it says, Mark is dreaming.
Oh, wow.
And some other ones, don't step on my foot, and some other odd ones like that. But the voice was very familiar to me.
Hmm.
So I sent them to my cousin Mark without saying anything about the
Yeah.
EVPs.
Yeah.
And he wrote back and he said, you know, I said, look what I captured at the family farm. And he said, that's my dad.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was after my uncle had died.
Yeah.
And it was clearly his voice. And the Mark he was referring to was my cousin, who died literally several years later from brain cancer.
Oh, wow.
He went in for stem cell um, therapy and didn't come out of it.
Sorry to hear. That's,
But
yeah.
but then you know, then you got to contemplate what is the message. You know, Mark is dreaming, and you know, all of a sudden that opened up a whole new can of questions and a whole new, you know, little thoughts. But the idea is here: was it like energy attraction? Why my uncle was able to reach out to me so clearly about with a message to my cousin, or was it that I contained some of that residual energy that was passed down through my bloodline, or both? You know,
Yeah.
so does one actually um, kind of help the other, facilitate the other.
Yeah, just the thought of generations upon generations, and you now have that sort of beacon, if you will, that sort of communication, or that mark, as you put it, of all your ancestors, and the traits and everything else. That is just wow. I never ever, like, sure, you think of, like, how a person looks, the brown eyes, the type of a nose and mouth, or what they do, whatever. Sure, you talk about traits, but you don't think of it like that long, that lineage. That's just fascinating.
I feel bad for my daughter.
Sorry, yeah, you the plane, get the plane. Yeah, sorry about that. I
That's
guess
okay.
that's,
Can't hear the plane.
you should probably hear some cows in a little bit too.
Cows. Now, are they physical cows or are they energy cows?
Physical cows, not AI.
All right.
Yeah, this is a little roadside cemetery in a farmland. So you'll get the occasional pickup truck, which just went by.
Yeah.
Cows and
What,
yeah.
what's that,
So here's the question.
what's that guy doing sitting in the cemetery with lights on? What's going on over there?
Well, maybe your viewers, your watchers will be able to pick up EVPs or something from going through the audio on it.
Could. But yeah, that's what I said. I said, listen, I told them, I said earlier, I did a little update. I said, look at guys, listen carefully, because you never know, you might pick up something. And if you do, we want to know.
I wonder how many podcasts have been done from a cemetery.
A few.
I mean, there's a lot of shows and stuff like that, but
shows,
I wonder
but not
how many actual podcasts.
Yeah, there's been a few, but
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would literally love to go to a cemetery and just, kind of set up the recording equipment and just have at it.
Well, it's like, when I with that little thing that you said there, Alex, I kind of remember of Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat. Yeah. And there's a scene in there where he goes to the cemetery with a reel-to-reel, and he goes and he sits by this headstone, and he turns the reel-to-reel on and starts recording, and he records EVPs from the person apparently that's laid to rest there. Fascinating.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So, okay, so what are your thoughts? I know you said energy based, and obviously that makes sense. Do you think perhaps that maybe one of the key ways of sort of being able to tap into it, or maybe they use it to tap in, is maybe infrasound?
Oh, well, that's the spectrum. Actually, I've done a lot of research in the past and a lot of work with Curtis Rhodes' microsound theories. I mean, it's quantum physical in nature, and some people would claim that infrasound and ultrasound, too, are in the realms of quantum physics. But in microsound theory, what Curtis Rhodes postulates is that in traditional sound engineering, sound engineers have always said that if a sound is too short of a duration of time, it falls out of the physical range of human hearing. In other words, it falls into that infrasound level. But what Curtis says is no, what it is just not building up enough decibel or pressure to be registered by the human ear. So what do you say? These little fragments of sound that connect together through like energy travel in what he calls granular clouds.
Okay.
And that they can be heard if they're given enough pressure. And of course, and I again, I've talked about this many times before, about how all that recording that we do, even on our cell phones or digital recorders or whatever, is analog.
Okay.
What it is a piece of magnet wrapped around in copper wire, and that's the microphone. And what it does is it takes whatever's near it, or depending if you're using omnidirectional or unidirectional recording, So it takes whatever's within its range and it compresses it, and it stores it on a medium, either magnetic tape or digital format or what have you.
Mhm.
But what you're doing is you're compressing the sound. So
Okay.
what happens when you compress sound? You create pressure.
Oh, yes, yes,
So
yes.
what you're doing is you're taking these inaudible granular clouds, and you're taking a slice out of this granular cloud, and you're compressing it into an audible format. So like a lot of times with EVP, and early on we were getting reverse speech phenomena, where if you play it forward, it'll say something else backwards or the same thing backwards, which is really physically impossible.
Mhm.
Or may say something completely different. And this reverse speech phenomena and is probably made famous by what's his name in Australia,
Mhm.
who did Coates. I did an album with him called Messerschmitt actually years
Mhm.
ago. Who has the reversespeech.com site, which is an amazing body of information. And I can't think of his full name at the moment. Maybe because I'm sitting in a cemetery. Uh,
That could be it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but amazing fellow. And I did a show with him once too, a long time ago. But the point is what we're doing is we're taking this slice of this persistence of personality, persistence of memory, active attempts at communication, what have you, this energy. And what we're doing is we're compressing it into an audible format where
Mhm.
these little granular pieces that are loosely held together can't be necessarily heard always with the naked ear.
So are we actually so okay, we're creating energy and it's infinite. It goes into cyberspace and blah 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 wherever else. But I mean, going into a location and doing some audio work and collecting EVPs. What are we exactly doing? Are we like tapping into like a stagnant sort of energy format that's just there, and we're able to sort of extract it and bring it onto a device and record it? Like how exactly do you think it's working? I see that's the fascinating part of it all.
And that's the thing. From the very beginning, I've been attempting to deconstruct what electronic voice phenomena is,
Yeah.
and come up with what's going on. So, I've this past year, I went to uh, Ypres in Brussels to record at the Western Front, the last known trenches of the Western Front.
Hmm.
I just got back from Naples and Pompeii, recorded in Pompeii,
Oh wow.
and then up to Florence and recorded in Donatello's tomb, and at Dante Alighieri, who wrote the Inferno. His love of his life was buried in the family chapel. He only met her twice, but he was infatuated with Beatrice,
Hmm.
and actually she plays a major role in Inferno and also Purgatory, where she's egging him on and stuff. So I recorded at her tomb as well. Wondering if how long, because the question's not just that, but like how long do these cloud energies remain viable? Are there ways to regenerate them?
Yeah.
With the idea, like you clairaudience, under certain atmospheric conditions, we know that Earth's atmosphere changes pressure, especially during certain storms and at different times.
Yeah.
So when the actual atmosphere changes pressure, and we aren't even recording, is that enough pressure to take some of these granular clouds of memory, of voices, and compress them into an audible format?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you
Exactly.
were a kid. You know, when you were a kid in the summer and you fell asleep near the oscillating fan or something, you thought you heard voices coming through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, were you? I mean, was it compressing audio right there in your living room or what have you?
Wow.
Or maybe
Wow.
that charged atmosphere is also recharging those granular clouds and
Right. Yeah, well,
whatnot.
you're right.
Yeah.
What electricity, the energy
Yeah.
itself, what
Yeah.
does the
So,
atmosphere do for that?
so was the name of the person David Joan Oates that you were trying to remember?
Yeah, David. Oates, not Coates. Yeah, Oates.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll kill me.
So,
Yeah, highly recommended reading and checking out his site and listening to his stuff.
so you know, is this stuff actually just confined to here on Earth, or is this, you know, is it cycled throughout the universe? Do you think?
Interesting. A lot of the early researchers, Raymond Cass, Sarah Estep, Friedrich Jurgensen, Konstantin Rodive, of course, they all claimed that they were also getting voices from outer space.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
I actually just got asked to review a paper. You know, the Congress is doing those congressional hearings on UFO or
UAPs.
UAPs, yeah.
phenomena and stuff, and there's some paper being presented about audio, and someone asked me if they could send it to me to review it for Congress.
Wow,
So
interesting.
yeah, so I mean, there's that whole line of that. I've never really, I would imagine that possible if extraterrestrial beings have been here on Earth, and I believe they have, you know, and maybe currently still do, that there's a very well possibility that they leave off an energy as well as human beings. And you know, I tend to ask not why, but why not, of course, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, why not? You
Well, I
know,
mean, the whole universe is comprised of energy of some form or another. Some of it which we don't even understand, like dark matter, for example. We don't know where our energy ends up really once it's freed from our physical bodies.
right. You know, and I was just kind of laughing to myself because, excuse me, they used to refer to outer space as a vacuum, a
Yeah.
void. And in reality, it isn't. It's anything but. And they've discovered that it's anything but a vacuum, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it just lacks oxygen.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
It's only a vacuum. We're, as humans, I mean, I think we're pretty piss poor structures. I mean, and for us to relate everything based on us being the epitome of mechanisms of machines is ridiculous because, you know, outside of our opposable thumb, we really ain't got much, do we?
Yeah, exactly. When you think about it, exactly, it comes down to almost like what? Nothing.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, if it isn't human in nature, it can't be real. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're pretty shitty organisms, really. We're not built very well.
We're just a bunch of lounging fools. No.
We're a bunch of hairless apes.
Hairless
Yeah.
apes. So okay, let's get into a lot of, because you've experimented quite a bit with a lot of different techniques and tools. Like I mean, what are some of the methods that you've used to extract EVP?
I mean, I all kind of the different types of, you know, Jurgensen, of course, used the radio and he came up with what was it, 1450 was the frequency that he claimed was a great frequency to capture Voices from Beyond on,
Mhm.
and I think I was probably one of the first people to experiment and try out the Ovilus, and
Oh
that
yeah.
we did. Well, we did a movie a long time ago called Ghost Asylum
Okay.
down in Peoria, and they had just come out with Puck and the Ovilus and those, and we used them in this movie. And there's a great scene where my research partners get in the grounds was a cemetery, and then the stream kind of ripped it apart into three pieces, and bones and stuff were getting washed up on in the in the creek and stuff. And there's this great scene where uh, they're fighting with the Puck, it's
Yeah.
calling out things, and they're like fighting back, yelling back at it and stuff, and it's just it's pretty interesting to say the least. If you could find the movie, you know, I think Ron James was the director of it. Um,
Haunted Asylum.
Ghost Asylum,
Oh, Ghost Asylum. Sorry,
yeah,
Ghost Asylum.
based on Peoria State Asylum.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
And I mean, you again, the Sally House as well, right? I mean, you did some
yeah,
stuff with
Sally House. Oh
the
my
Sally
God.
House as well, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that was quite a while ago.
yeah, but I was there not too long ago with
Oh, really?
did a 24-hour live ghost hunt thing with the people. What was that? I was one of the TV shows was It Feels Evil.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, yeah, and that was interesting. But yeah, I was probably one of the researchers been to the Sally House more than anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, God, I can't even 23, 24, 25 different occasions, and
Oh, wow.
seen and been witness to, you know, so many crazy things and horrible things too. But um, I think you can find that on YouTube.
The
Gateway
Sally
to the
House.
Sally
Oh,
House Gateway to the Paranormal, I think was the full title of it,
okay. Yeah.
by UFO Television.
Nice. Uh, what what's been the strangest thing, like the strangest way of trying to extract EVP that you've used?
You mean method?
Method. Yeah.
Oh
Method you.
God. I have a hydrophone, and I was doing recordings for the Eastland disaster in the Chicago River, and uh, dropped the hydrophone in the water where 435 people drowned, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, God, I've used so many different strange methods. It's really,
I
really.
think the last time we talked to you, I think you were, what was it, Alex? You were experimenting with record player, I believe it was. Was it a record player?
I think it was, yeah.
Something to do with you were using the record player in a certain manner. I can't remember exactly how it was, and you were recording it, and you captured some interesting stuff. I remember it was quite a while ago, though. Do you remember that?
Something about it. Was I doing like a lathe cut? I've done live lathe cuts on record
Maybe.
It could have
in
been, yeah.
haunted places. I mean, I've worked with Tibetan singing bowls, tuning forks commonly.
Yeah.
A lot of trying to add frequency or pure tone to regenerate resting energy. You know, so it's pretty energy based. You
I
know,
know you passed along a method for me during an investigation I did. You said, I remember you were telling me, go bring some children into the location and record them playing with some items in that particular location, and then take the recording and then play it again when you go back in and during the investigation to see if that sort of brings out some activity, if you will. And I did, but I unfortunately we didn't really get anything that night. But I found that quite fascinating. That technique that you mentioned.
Another technique that I found works really interesting too. And in a way, you know, back in the day before you had all this sound editing equipment and stuff, Jurgensen and Rod Ivan stuff, to clean their EVPs, they would take a recording of a disenfranchised voice, and then they would record the playback of the recording, and then record the playback of the recording, and record the playback of the recording.
Oh, wow.
To clean it up. But I've also played EVP recordings and recorded during that and gotten different EVP, new EVPs, not just from the recordings themselves, but from the environment. So, like, if I were to sit out here in the cemetery and I were to play past EVPs that I've gotten as a sound source, and then go through that, like EVPs that respond to the EVPs being played, or just completely fresh EVPs, you know, I've gotten interesting results that way too. So,
have you found success in certain locations over others? Like, would you recommend specific locations, or can this be captured pretty much anywhere using any method you're using?
Yeah, you can. I believe you can capture it anywhere. I mean, there are a lot of locations that you get a lot more results from, but that I think is based on the individual observer. So I think what you're getting would be somehow connected to your energy or connected to what you're doing at the place. So, like out here in this cemetery, if I were to record out here, would I get more EVPs because I've been here before, or would I get more EVPs because there's some ancestor out here that I don't know about, or someone that shares some kind of energy with me? You know, people's energy are like thumbprints. Everyone's energy is very unique, you know, and energy is unique. And you know, they liken it to as different and recognizable as a person's fingerprints. You know, so there might be a lot of reasons that some people have success in some places, you know, versus the lack of success in other places.
I think it has to do with the atmosphere that the person, as you know, to your point, being the individual themselves, if they're in a location that they kept hearing was haunted, let's say for the sake of the argument, their expectation, their energy level rises in anticipation of catching something, and that in and of itself could be reason why they capture something. Whereas if you go about your daily business, like even in your home or someone else, and you're not expecting it, chances are you'll probably get nothing.
Well, I was in Stockholm earlier this year doing a show, and this Czech film group came down. They were doing a documentary, and they wanted to do a documentary with me. So we went down. They wanted to go to these subways where these artists had done constructions in these subways, and we did that. And then they said, "Oh, you know," and we thought we'd go to this cemetery. So we're going to the cemetery, and it was right after a really out of season snowstorm, a really bad one, and the whole place was really just completely snowed over and stuff. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you know who's buried in this cemetery?" I'm like, "No, who?" They're like, "Greta Garbo, you know, the actress." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, well we'll go there and we'll do my interview there." So we're doing the interview, and so they're like, you know, act like you're doing EVP or something, you know. So I did some recordings, and I got a male voice very clearly says, "Here comes the fog," and a female voice. First she says "asshole," and then she says, "I'm Greta," and very clear, "I'm Greta."
Oh wow!
And I posted them on my Facebook page. You might have to like scroll down a bit and find them, but they're within this year, you know.
Oh yeah.
But there was something that I wasn't intending on recording, or I had no, you idea that I'd even be recording or get anything. I was there for to do this interview for them, and I thought, well, it's Greta Garbo's grave, right?
That's great.
And there's no one around. Her grave is like kind of alone on this little hill, and there's just no one near. It's all snow, because of the snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, me and the 3 guys from the film crew are the only ones in the cemetery.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, I you know what? I have to play this for you, Mike. I'm gonna play this.
Oh yeah,
This I know I've played it a million times on the show, but you know what? I don't think I've ever played this for you. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. So if you can hear if you can hear it, okay. If not, I'll send you the link anyway so you can watch it. So let me just load it up here. Okay, hold on. And this is the actual hold on. This is the actual video snippet, like the actual footage. So okay, hold on, here we go. Okay, here we go. Were you able to hear that at all?
Yeah. Play it again. What is she saying?
Exactly. Okay, here. Hold on. So you hear the melody, but
Yeah,
it's
almost sounds like a foreign language, actually.
Exactly.
Almost maybe French.
Yeah.
But something was happening. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously, clearly a young girl.
Yeah. I'll send you the link so you can watch it or listen to it again.
Right. Yeah.
Under better
Did
circumstances.
you guys try and make a guess out of what she was saying, or?
I've tried. I've tried so hard, and I've had other people listen to it. Yeah, it sounds like it's. I originally thought, okay, maybe it has something to do with the painting, but the oil painting is not original to the house, and it's not the original cherry ripe painting. So then I dug deeper into the cherry ripe. That is a painting from an old English song by the same name, Cherry Ripe.
Right.
So I was listening to the song as early as I could, because there's a lot of present day renditions, of it. Or, I was trying to get the earlier renditions. It's really hard to get an earlier one. I'm sure that it's out there somewhere, but yeah, it's just it has nothing to do with the actual song. So
I was going to say, check this out. What's that app that you can play a song to and they'll tell you who it's by?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even know it. Yeah, there's an
There's
app.
an app that Shazam, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You got to play that to Shazam and see what it comes up with.
Good idea. Good idea. I should. Yeah, who knows?
Just to,
That's
who knows? Maybe it'll come up with something or related.
yeah.
Yeah, it does almost sound like she's singing.
Yeah, well, that's what my initial thoughts were, singing or maybe a nursery rhyme
Or
or
the
something
rhyme,
like that.
because there's
Yeah,
definitely a cadence to it. There's a rhythm to it. Yeah.
yeah. So, but like I said, that laid dormant for like 10 years, until I brought the video back out because I was putting a video documentary together on it, and I was using the footage, and I was just going through it and listening, and poof, I'm like, wow, holy crap, incredible, incredible.
So you caught it. You actually caught the EVP 10 years after original footage was taken.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we save everything.
Terry wants me to play it again, so I'll play it one
All
more
right.
time. Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's a great capture.
Yeah. So I mean, I figured I'd get your take on it because hey, you've been through it all. You've done so much experimentation and everything else with this, and maybe you had something maybe similar or whatever. I don't know, but that was taken from the location that I had chatted with you about this place, and I said, Michael, I got to get you to come up here and go to this place because I think you'd really love it. And he said, hey, that'd be really cool. We should set something up or whatever. And we were talking, and I said, any methods that you would recommend, suggest, or whatever. And that's the one that you said, bring some children into the location and record them playing with some of the toys. Because remember, I think I told you I brought in an old Etch-a-Sketch to sort of trigger, if you will, as a trigger item, but nothing ever happened with Etch-a-Sketch. But
Maybe
yeah,
it's too new for him. It sounds older. It
yeah,
sounds, Elizabethan or Victorian even. I mean, it sounds older. It sounds like more turn of the century to me.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's
I think people, I mean, I know for sure the way people talked, but I think as well, there's songs and things like that. They had each era or epoch, if you will, has sort of a different rhythm to it. I mean, I don't think any researchers ever really looked at the rhythms of a different epoch. I mean, obviously, from the 60s or the 70s, listening to just people talk in general, and if you looked at it rhythmically, it would have a different cadence and a different sort of style to it. And if you go further back in time, I think each different era would have a different sort of cadence to it.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
yeah. Apparently, there's Frank's mentioning in the
well,
in
that's
chat.
what's interesting about EVP is it forces us to look at so many different types of um, um, academics. History and linguistics and physical sciences and, arts, and, it really drags us through the whole gamut.
Well, that's what I mean with getting involved with something like this. People think that going in and doing this kind of work, it's you just bring a recorder in and try to capture disembodied voices or sounds or whatever else, and that's it. But that's not the case. There's so much more surrounding this. And again, as you mentioned, the history, the language, the all sorts of things that are so important to understanding what is happening. I mean, is this capture, is this a part of the environment that you're capturing in, or perhaps Michael, could it be attached to, say, an object that was brought into the house?
Right, exactly. And that's it, people always make jokes, like, oh, you're ghost hunting and blah 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 and stuff, and you'll always get that. I mean, you're always going to get someone say, oh yeah, you chase around ghosts and stuff, but they don't realize, I mean, how, if you do it right, how academic it really is. As opposed to just running around in the dark and trying to scare yourselves, or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, what do you think about the current state of EVP work, if you will? Now that I don't want to say it's gone viral. People have been doing it for a long time, but I mean, with the TV shows and blah 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 blah. What do you think about the current state of EVP research, if you will?
Well, so many people use it to decorate their television show or whatever that they're doing and stuff. And I think they're missing the point of the true research, or why people who are really interested in doing this are doing this. I mean, sure, everyone wants to be well known. Everybody wants to be known in their field, or gain a certain amount of. He was going somewhere. Everybody wants fame and fortune, I guess, is what Indiana Jones would say. But but still, that's great if you don't sacrifice the intent of the research, of the true, work that you want to do. I mean, what we do is a very weird and specialized work that is very underappreciated, because people don't recognize it, for being a science, or being legitimate in a scientific community of any kind. I mean, we're the outcasts of the outcasts, the underground of the underground. It's and
but I mean, people look at you, for instance, in the way you look at all the aspects of scientific aspects and everything else that go with this sort of research. I mean, to me, that's not parapsychology. To me, that's not pseudoscience. To me, I think that should be science. I mean, you're basing, like you said, trying to find the science in all this, and I mean, is it maybe because science is fallible too, and that it, you'll never be able to explain it through science?
Well, there's, again, when I first started out, and as I said at the beginning of the program, my idea was to leave some sort of pure enough evidence that someone else down the road might be able to use. In other words, non-contaminated frequency pictures and documents, documents that someone might be able to find or come across by accident and say, hey, this is actually valuable information. Someone did some really thoughtful, execution of a document, of what their results were, their findings. I mean, yeah, we're talking about an era too where quantum mechanics of fractal geometry are starting to try and map clouds. So
Yeah.
where's this going? I got a lot of hope. I got a lot of hope that eventually, if we're at an age where you know um, we're delving heavily in considering fractal geometry as a viable um, science, or
Yeah.
possibly in the future a viable science. Um, that maybe down the road, maybe not too far down the road, it may be something that will be considered. My big thing though too is, and I'm really hoping that AI doesn't contaminate it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Exactly.
the problem with AI is now everyone's looking at the physical world, the real world, and saying this is all an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is all the matrix.
Yeah.
Because AI is blurring the boundaries between reality and creation, fake worlds. Creation.
Yeah.
So I mean, were there boundaries to be blurred? I mean, it might be the answer. Who knows? You know, maybe this is all the Matrix and we're God and blah 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 blah. But you know, all acid trips aside, I believe that there's a physical reality and then one computer generated reality called AI.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I'm worried that they may blur what people consider viable science and what people don't. It lessens uh, the punch, I guess. It lessens the seriousness of true science.
True. Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna take a short break here. Are you good to go for a little bit longer, or do you have to go?
Yeah. How much longer we got? For some reason, the cemetery's sucking my battery.
Yeah, okay. No, well, it's up to you. Entirely up to you. If you want to get going, that's great. If you want to get going, just let everyone know where to find you and all that kind of stuff, and we'll get that out at least. But
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Maybe we can pick this up at another time too.
sure, absolutely.
Um, But yeah, if you go on Discogs and type in Michael Esposito, you'll see my mug on there and see a lot of the releases I've done. I'm just now finishing up a reissue of uh, actually a flexi record, double side flexi record that my brother and I did a long time ago. Very limited edition, done on glue. It was a
Oh,
glue record and a flexi record, and the cover folded out into a pyramid. It had a little record needle on it, and you turned it by hand and it played the record.
oh, wow,
But
that's cool.
I'm redoing it in a flexi record, double sided, and it was done from EVP from Mantino State Asylum,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
where they tested with, among many other things, LSD. And I had the cover perforated to 900 tablets of acid
Oh,
uh,
wow.
Zane Kesey, Ken Kesey's son. The merry prankster, run around on the magic bus,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
handing out acid with Grateful Dead and Tim Leary and stuff.
Holy shit!
So
Yeah.
yeah, he perforated the cover for me into 900 tablets of acid and autographed the back. So
That
it's
is so
autographed
cool.
by Zane Kesey, who, when he was a kid, was on the Magic Bus with them in the '60s.
Yeah.
And I figured, well, they did testing with LSD at the asylum, so it's within the context of every bit of my productions. I try and keep consistent to the environment, or consistent to the snapshot of the
The moment.
investigation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That is
the
so cool.
EVPs are on there, and my brother and I are performing some psychedelic music.
Well, that's
Uh,
cool.
yeah.
And when can we expect that?
The Flexies are on route from Czech Republic, and Zane mailed off the covers to me yesterday, so
Oh,
it'll be coming out pretty soon. You'll be able to find it on Discogs, and a box set of all the other Flexies that I did with different artists are coming out called a Box of Bones.
Box of Bones.
Yeah, the Russians used to do contraband music on X-rays because they would be arrested if they got caught with Western music. So they used X-rays because they were easy to roll up and hide in your shirt sleeves and stuff. And they call them bones. And
Bones.
these are Flexies. It's a box of bones.
That's cool.
And so also, if you look under a pandemic research division on Discogs, there's an album there. You can listen to it for free. It's 109 tracks with all these great names from experimental and industrial music worlds.
I was listening to some of those actually. It's on Bandcamp too, isn't it? Bandcamp?
Bandcamp, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's under pandemic response division, probably the only way. All those EVPs are from tuberculosis sanitariums and nurses' wings of where they lived during the pandemics of tuberculosis.
Oh wow.
I did it during the pandemic, and I had time to work with a bunch of different people, including people like Christopher Chaplin, which was Charlie Chaplin's youngest son.
Oh wow.
People from the Swans and Death in June and Nurse with Wounds and all these experimental and industrial bands. People that I know that I've worked with in the past and were able to chime in with me and sent them the EVPs for their interpretation, their musical interpretation of them.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's 109 tracks. It's crazy.
I do remember you posting it, and I do remember listening to a few of them, and they're really, really cool. They're really cool. I have to listen to them again. That's awesome, Mike. And what do you got coming up? You're off to the UK.
Yeah, I'm going to Southern England to do some recordings with Addie Newton from Clock DVA, industrial band from the late 70s, early 80s. He was one of the original members of what became the Human League.
Mm.
And then he quit and formed Clock DVA. And we have a band called Matar, which we did recordings at places like Stonehenge and the Hurlers and all these megalithic standing Carnouni, which is a prehistoric settlement in England. So all these Matar being the mother goddess of the mountain, you know.
Yeah.
So these are all very archaic standing stone EVPs from places like that and stuff.
Yeah.
Based and built into compositions. And we're going down to record sound mirrors that were set up to warn England of Zeppelin attacks and airplane attacks from Germany, right in World War I, World War II.
That is cool.
Yeah, and then so we're doing that, and then who knows what's going to come up after that. And then next year, about this time, I'm doing a week-long workshop with Carl Michael von Haaswolf in the Pyrenees Mountains in between France and Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be doing the workshop. I think you could find that on, I think it's called Camp, is the art league that's doing it.
Okay.
And you can sign up for it, and they provide food and lodging. And we'll go to some ghost towns and abandoned buildings and castles and stuff in the Pyrenees, and record EVPs together and we'll go through them and do a whole workshop on them for a week.
Oh, I look forward to that. I would love to hear what you find there in the Pyrenees. That'll be really interesting. Really interesting. Well, Michael, thank you, my friend. It's been a long time, and please stay in touch, and hopefully we can get together soon. It's been
That'd be
a long
great.
time, man.
Yeah,
I look forward to it. So,
yeah. Let me know when, and it'll be fine.
all right, Michael, take
All right.
care.
One last look at the cemetery
Yeah.
before we go.
The cemetery, yeah. Look at that.
That's awesome.
Brunswick Cemetery.
1854, folks. 1854.
Yeah.
Old roadside
Brunswick, Indiana.
cemetery.
It's an old Dutch farm community.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Michael, take care, my friend.
All right, my friend. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's always great to have Mike on. We're gonna take a short break here, guys. We'll be right back. Maybe we'll the lines up for a little bit or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. Hold tight. We'll be right back.
Good evening. I'm Richard Palmisano, the founder of the Searcher Group. It's a paranormal company, the oldest in Canada. I founded in 1979, which not only makes me old, but makes me doing paranormal research and field work for just under 45 years now. I am also an author, researcher, and lecturer on the paranormal. I've written 6 books now. And I really enjoy coming on with Steve and Alex on Nocturnal Frequency Radio, as well as listening to the shows, because there's a lot of interesting guests there. I like it, looking at this stuff, because it opens your mind to other options and other alternative thoughts. There's always time to learn new things. So I hope you join us and come and see Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Thank you.
So let me ask you, what makes for good radio?
My 5 favorite songs all day long.
Play it again.
No.
As many commercials as physically possible.
What? No, why would that be good?
Great music, great talk shows, no commercials!
Precisely. New Visions Radio gives you no commercials, no nonsense, just the best new music and the best talk all day long, 24/7, 365. NewVisionsRadio.com.
Hey guys, Kristen here, host of the Paranormal Girl podcast, a bingeable exploration and deep dive education about the paranormal for the skeptical believer. Some of my past season topics have included shadow people, Mandela effect, demons, and UFOs. Currently, I am tackling Bigfoot. I have been sharing this journey with my audience since early 2021, and I have learned a lot these last few years. It's truly a mysterious world out there beyond our perceptions, and reality is just not what it seems. I have also, since the start, met some awesome folks like Alex and Steve, and I've really enjoyed watching and learning from them and also joining them on their show. Their guests are always outstanding, their listeners are just the coolest, and these hosts are some of my favorite people. I recommend their show to anyone looking for an intelligent and fun conversation about the paranormal amongst friends. So join me on my investigation, join Steve and Alex on theirs, and enjoy. Now back to the show. You are watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
You are watching and listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, of course, here on YouTube and on the New Visions Radio Network. I want to thank our good friend Michael Esposito for stopping by for the first hour of the show. Fucking fascinating, man. I'm telling you, the guy is just amazing. And you know what? I think I put the his Discogs. Hold on, let me just.
You did.
It's in the. Yeah, it's there. So
in the description.
Yeah. So I gotta find. I'll find the his Bandcamp link, and I'll post it in the in there as well, so you guys can check out that work too. Because I'm telling you, man, that fucking shit's crazy. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed Michael. I mean, he's like I said, very knowledgeable, and out of all the people,
he's down to earth too.
Yeah, he's very down to earth, and the guy just knows what he's talking about. I mean, the guy knows what he's talking about. And as you can see, he's done a lot of research. He's done a lot of experimentation, a lot of investigation. There's so much he's done. When I think of the world of EVP and trying to make sense of it, I think of all the people, I think Michael is the best that I can think of offhand. Period. Right now, logically. Hey Jamie, how are you? So I mean, yeah. So, anyways, I started my first 2 weeks holidays for the month of October.
Nice.
I go on. I'm off for 2 weeks, then back to work for a week, and then off the last 2 weeks of October. I've been waiting for this forever, man. I'm telling you, it's like I bank up to do this in October. I'm looking forward to just soaking it all in this year, man. Because I find that October fucking months go by fast, period. But
yeah, they do. Yeah,
October just flies by. And it being my favorite time of the year, favorite month, if you will.
It goes by even faster.
Exactly. Oh man, this thing's. So what's new? What have you been up to?
Fuck all.
There we go. Another one for the books.
Slightly different than
Lozzie.
the usual.
How you doing, Lozzie? Yeah, it's
had a wedding yesterday. That was new.
Oh, you went to a wedding yesterday?
Yeah, in Cambridge.
In Cambridge. That's quite
Yeah.
well, I guess it's not too bad of a drive. You just
an hour and a bit.
Just go on the 407.
No, we didn't take the 407.
You took the 401.
Yeah.
The 401. The 401. Fuck, I'm leaking all over here. Hold on a sec. This can has been destroyed. Look at it. Destroyed.
Oh, you
anyhow
just like punching the cans?
No, it a friend of mine sent me a few out from BC, and that one didn't fare too well on the way here.
Yeah.
So, but cheers.
Cheers.
Good. So, I mean, what fascinates you most about Michael's work? I mean, what you've heard, what you've seen.
Well, just how in depth he goes into it, and how he tries pretty much every method you could possibly imagine to like try to understand, and even I know saying try to get EVPs is kind of a silly way of saying it, but essentially that's what it is, trying to capture EVPs by any means necessary, so to speak, right? Most of us in the field will go out with just a recorder, whether it's a digital analog or some other fancy kind of recorder, but he goes above and beyond in trying to capture, not just trying to capture it. He's trying to understand it. He's trying to formulate sort of a more deep understanding of where it's coming from. Is this something that can be had? Because if you think about it on the scientific methods, it's something that's repeatable, right? Something that you can constantly do and repeat it and try to disprove it. And if you can't disprove it, then that becomes scientific theory. He's trying to, it seems to me, he's trying to do the same. He's trying to accomplish the same goal with EVPs. He's trying to come up with different methods to see if he can kind of control it and sort of repeat it. And if he can, then there you go. Now you have something that you can actually approach a scientific community and say, hey, do it this way and you'll get results.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to find the Sally House thing that we were referring to earlier, because it's, have you ever seen it?
No.
It's really fascinating because I mean, it's thought that the house, I believe, has some sort of demonic sort of infestation or some sort of possession in the house.
It's all demonic nowadays.
Yeah, but I don't really buy into the whole demonic bit, but I do believe there's probably something going on in the house. It's just seems kind of, weird that so much stuff has happened in that house. And like I said, I'm not well versed in terms of hold on a sec, exactly everything that's going on in there, but yeah, just hold on. No, I can't find it. No, I don't want to play I don't want to play the other guy in there because you know who I'm talking to. Who I'm talking about.
I think I do.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna bother with it. But yeah, it's really intriguing. That and the what is it, the Mantino Asylum. That's another one that sounds really intriguing. I remember him when the Can-Am Paracon, where I've met Michael for the first time. And we sat down and he was talking about the Mantino State Asylum, and he was saying it was probably one of the most intimidating places he'd ever been in. And with all the stuff that was going on, it was just incredible. So I don't know, man. You've captured EVPs. I mean, what do you think? I mean, we've talked about this, but sort of reiterate your thoughts about EVPs.
Well, I mean, it's tough to say where exactly they're coming from. There's no real clear answer to that, or no real clear indication in my mind. I don't buy the stray radio signal theory, although truth be told, in some instances that may very well be the case in some cases. But when you're going out and you're in a location that's remote and you're using a digital recorder, for example, can it happen with stray radio signals? Maybe. I'm more inclined to think it's not that. It's more you're capturing some kind of disembodied voice. Now, whether that disembodied voice was actually spirit of a deceased person that died 20, 30, 40, or even 100 years before, who knows? You don't know. It could be just a different sort of being in a sort of different reality, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
That's coming through. And it could just as easily be that. It could be that we're living if we're living in a multiverse, you could be capturing a stray voice from one of the other multiverses just as easily as it could be just a disembodied spirit.
Exactly.
And that's the point. You just don't know where it's coming from. We don't know that. That's what we're trying to find out, but we just don't know.
Well, I like the whole idea, the way he was explaining it, and the thought that what are we doing? Are we actually extracting from some sort of cyber cloud? You know what I mean? Just a collection of like residual moments. More so, but I mean, how does that explain perhaps an intelligent sort of response? If you're asking a question and all of a sudden you get an intelligent response, if you will, something that clearly sounds like they're answering the question that you ask. I mean, then what? I mean, what's happening? What? I think we should ask Michael his thoughts on that. But
yeah,
I mean, what do you think? I mean, like.
You know what? That's that can be tricky. A lot of the times when I see people who claim they have intelligent responses, and I was guilty of it myself too, don't get me wrong. Most people ask the same questions. What is your name? That's one of the standard answer. And when you get a response with a name, you assume automatically that it's an intelligent response, when in reality it could, you could be asking another question and a name could be said. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's kind of a tricky thing. Like if you ask a specific question aside from what is your name, that kind of stuff, but a specific question regarding, let's say you're in like when I used to go to the Whitby Psych, for example, if I were to have asked a specific question about the history of the place and a response came back regarding that history of the place, then you could argue that this is an intelligent response. But if I'm going there saying, oh, what's your name? What's your name? And I get Mike, let's say for the sake of the argument. Yeah. That could be anything. Right. So it's the questions that are asked and the responses you get that I'm looking for as far as determining whether it's an intelligent response or just a standard response.
Yeah, exactly. It just I don't know. I mean, I like to, the rational side of me says, okay, there's a logical explanation to it, obviously, and then the other side of me is saying there's a lot more going on.
Yeah.
To this that
I feel the same way.
It's there are things that just that I've captured, and I just it doesn't make sense. Like when you think, because I mean you can't think linear with this shit, man. You really can't. It's like non-linear fucking. It's like you many cases you're stepping back in time. It's like you're peering into a different time zone or a different time period, and I keep using the child singing EVP because how clear it is. Yep. It's just so fucking clear, other than you can't really make out what she's singing or what she's saying.
I hear you.
But at the same time, you get this vibe or sense of the time period that it's from. It's not from our time. It's from years ago. And was it somehow trapped in that location, and it just needed something to like open up and for it to able to sort of make communication, if you will.
I'm also of the mindset that, not knowing where this stuff's coming from, not fully understanding the reality of it, for lack of a better term, makes it that much more interesting and makes it worthwhile investigating. I mean, let's face it, if we knew tomorrow, let's say tomorrow, we figure it all out, No, we won't, but just for the sake of the argument,
Mhm.
we figure it all out. We know exactly where these voices come from. We know exactly what the quote unquote paranormal is. What do we do then? Right?
Well, that's the question exactly. It's like,
Right.
but
Well, that's just it, right? So part of the fun is trying to figure it out. If we actually do figure it out, the fun gets taken out of it, kind of deal, right?
But I mean, are we just figuring out a piece of it and not the whole thing?
Yeah, that's obviously. I mean, EVPs is just a piece of the puzzle.
A piece of the
right?
puzzle.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, part of me wants to know where all this is coming from. A big part of me wants to know because part of the whole interest for me in the paranormal, it's not just because I've had some weird experiences in the past that I can't explain really logically anyway.
Yeah.
It's because I want to know what awaits us after we die, if anything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do we actually move on and sort of experience something completely new once our physical bodies die, or is it, lights out the minute you die? Right.
Lights out.
So that's, a big part of me. That's the reason why I do what I do. And I try to research it and I try to listen to other people's perspectives and whatnot, because I'm trying to figure that part out. But part of me also doesn't want to know because, it's almost like that thing. The fun of it all is trying to figure it out. And if someone has figured it all out, then there's no more fun in it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we'll open this up a little bit, I suppose, for a little while. Let's see. I'll post this in the chat. Pin it. There we go. But yeah, it's and if anybody would like to join us, and maybe you have an interesting take on EVPs or whatever else. I know, Kristen, you did quite a bit of research on was it the first season of her? It was the first season that she dove down the EVP road, didn't she, with the show?
I think
so. I think it was the first season. Correct us.
Yeah,
if
correct
wrong,
us if we're wrong there, Kristen.
If we're wrong, I'm pretty sure it was her first season that she went down that road and did a great job. Did a wonderful job.
She's done a great job on all of them.
Oh, all of them. Yeah. But
Shadow people. Yeah.
Oh, Shadow people. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What season you did EVPs, right? I'm pretty sure she did, didn't she?
Same here. I'm pretty sure.
I'm
Unless it was
sure.
maybe an episode. I'm almost drunk. That's why I can't remember.
Almost
right
drunk. Yeah, but have awesome people who have a lot to say about you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an actual season dedicated to EVPs. It was.
No.
That's what. That's anyway. Okay.
But still, like, I mean, it's
people listen to her podcast.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, what do we got coming on?
We got Mr. Crazy John here, I think.
Oh, Crazy John.
But yeah, people, and Alex, grab our YouTube link and throw it in chat so people can check it out.
We'll do.
John. Hey, John.
Hello.
How you doing?
Not so bad, everybody. How's everybody else?
Can barely hear you, Dad.
Yeah, your audio's a little low there.
But it's loud now.
Oh yeah, that's loud now. That's loud. That's good. That's good to go. Good to go.
Good to go.
Awesome. So what do you think? I'll ask you. What do you think about EVPs?
EVPs. I would love to get into EVPs.
Yeah. Have you heard many?
Nope, but I would like to do it in this house because I'm sure there's a few ghosts in this house.
Well, do you have a recorder?
Do you know what? I should really sort of get into it because I'm sure there's something in this place.
You wouldn't? I wouldn't doubt it. I mean,
160-year-old houses,
and
got to be a few people that's died in them over the years, like
Not even just died, but just
just the history
They
of
were
them.
there.
Yeah.
They were there. Came and went, and for some reason, they probably that was their favorite house, but they probably didn't die there. They probably died somewhere else. And hey, I'm going back to that place and haunting that place, man.
I don't know. I mean, they're supposed to like get upset, like if you do certain things, but I've never had any, spirits were like if you're doing something with the place that they're not happy with. And I don't think over the years, I don't think I've really upset anybody in them. I don't know about the rest of the houses. I mean, there's 4 houses here.
Well, usually, I think one of the theories is if you do some renovations or whatever to the house, it kind of stirs the pot a little bit.
That's it. That's what I've heard. I mean, I've also heard about it in other places. I remember somebody doing EVPs years ago in a place called Worley Manor, which is not so far away from where I live. And that they stirred up a nest in that place, and that place dates back to the 1600s,
Oh, wow.
So they stirred up some big nests in that place, and it came alive. Next thing you know, they were hearing walls talking, and voices in the background, like somebody having a conversation, they were whispering voices as well, and actual things showing themselves as well, just gray figures, and an old woman actually showed herself as well on the balcony of it. Yeah, and the bloke was like down because they used to do music concerts in there. They had this great big hall, which was the lounge of the house.
Okay.
And it had a balcony up above, like with those alcove balconies, it's not a full balcony. It's just like alcove base, and it was on one side of the room. And where they had this like stage area in the lounge, and if you could stand in the right place, you could look right up on the balcony through the arches.
Okay.
Like you could sort of glance your way up, and they saw this woman appear, and she stood there with her arms on the rail, and she was looking over, listening to the music. And then,
wow.
But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you've never had anything happen.
Well, I've told this before, and I mean, I'll bring it up again. I'm sure there's some new people, that's on the channel. But as I say, I used to work in a place that was an old courthouse, but it became a nightclub.
Yeah.
And but it dated back to about 1700s, as far as we know at the records of it, and it's been there. There was another building that was there before, but then they built on it and made it a little bit bigger around it. So the original buildings sort of was lower, which is hence why this ghost used to appear through the middle of the floor, So, but I mean, the one I'd seen, which I still scratch my head about to this day, was I was in the club because it was a nightclub and I was there, and I was cleaning up, and it was a middle of the afternoon. I'd say probably about 2:30, 2:45 in the afternoon. I'm sweeping up on the floor. I've got my view on this side, and I had a fire exit, which was like about 5 steps away to 7 steps away at the most. But I had to get up 3 little steps to actually get to the fire exit. So I'm sweeping away, and I had the fire exit doors open to let some fresh air in that day because it was a warm day outside. And there was no windows in the club because they were all sealed up because of the sound. So I've seen this thing just wander past the fire exit, and it was enough to get me to lift my head up and look, because it was that dominant, I was like, what the, I've looked like that, gone, so I've dropped the brush and I legged it to the fire exit. And on the other side of the fire exit was 35 steps going down, steel steps, and I thought there's no way they can get themselves down 35 steps that fast. It took me seconds to get to that fire exit when I seen it, and there was nobody there.
Wow.
And that got me, and that got my head scratching. And I've heard some good stories about that place over the years of people getting things happen, poltergeist activity, things being thrown around, noises, doors being banged.
And you got a glimpse of something like shooting.
And I just seen that thing there, but I've had stories of people who've seen a ghost walk through the middle of the building.
Wow.
we had a famous one where the Coca-Cola man was inside doing the Coca-Cola things in the cellar,
Oh
and he
wow.
was in there on his own. He
Mhm.
came in at 9 o'clock in the morning. He said, "I've come to do your Coca-Cola things." He said, "Oh, they're in the basement. Like the main machines are in the basement. Go down
Mhm.
there. We're just going to nip out for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Like, we'll leave you alone. You'll be all right." So he come back about 35 minutes later, about 45 minutes later. He stood outside, white as a sheet. I mean, the man was ashened.
No pun intended. He looked like a ghost.
He looked like he'd seen a ghost. To be
Yeah.
honest, he looked like he'd seen a ghost, and
Yeah.
and he was shaking. He said, "What
Yeah.
what are you doing?" Like, and he'd actually locked himself out of the club as well. Because
Oh wow.
he booted up the fire exit doors downstairs, and then he shut them behind him, and then stood outside like, we come on, we go, what are you doing there? Did you get yourself locked out? He went, "I'm not going in there on my own." We go, "Why's that? Like, what's the matter?" Like, something in that fucking place. And for the rest of the day, he was in the building the entire day. We had to walk around with him everywhere because he was afraid of going on his own. And whatever he'd seen, because apparently he was down in the basement,
Uh-huh.
and he's working away, and then all of a sudden he heard this bang, 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 bang. I mean, somebody banging a door upstairs, throwing stuff, and he went upstairs to investigate. Like anybody would, really. Like, what the hell's that? And whatever he'd seen in the room scared the shit out of him.
I
Because
bet.
he legged it out of that building, like down 2 flights of steps. He legged it, and got out. So whatever he saw that day scared the fucking living daylights out of him. And he wouldn't walk around the building on his own. He was like, "I'm not going around. You have to walk around with me."
How would you react, Alex, to something like that?
To seeing there like some phantom going around.
Seeing a gray. If you saw like I saw, was a gray shape. It was distinctive enough. It was like 6.5 foot tall. He was a tall shape. I mean, it filled the door height wise, and it was enough to.
Well, I mean, this is what we kind of all want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole point of being involved in the paranormal is to try to capture something, whether it be on, still pictures, video, audio, or even face to face. And if you're not willing to go to that length to try to capture that, then what's the point of doing it?
Well, I know we would, but I mean, you just the average person going in and feeling like, as John said.
Fair enough. But I mean, if you're asking me what I would do, I mean, that's the whole point. Would I be scared? I'd probably be a little bit frightened. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm not going to be scared, but I'm not going to be running out screaming like you see some of these people in the paranormal. Why else would you be there?
Yeah, you'd be looking behind.
Yeah, it'll catch me off guard at first. It's like, oh crap, because nothing like that ever happens to me. So if it were to actually happen, it'll catch me by surprise, right?
I'll tell you what. We went on the ghost hunt a few years ago to a place that Matt's done an urbex at, which was called the Palace Theatre here in Plymouth.
Okay.
And we went there for a ghost hunt, and we're in the building and it's pitch black, and we're doing the EVP. We've done calling out things, and at one stage in one of the rooms that was at the front of the theatre, something got thrown across the room. We found out in the end it was a stone, quite a big one as well.
Wow.
And and there was apparently somebody took a picture of it. And I'll try and find it one day. But somebody took a picture scanning the downstairs area of the theatre, and they caught a shape in 2 places. They caught a shape downstairs on one of the runways going down to the stage. They caught it stood there on the rail, and they caught another one in the top end of the right at the top of the theatre in what they call the cheap seats.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right in the corner. And all they seen was the eyes. They sort of stuck out. It's when you look at it, it's really fucking eerie. It gets you going, holy shit! It's really, really distinctive, especially the one that was up in the cheap seats, because that you could see the whole shape, and the eyes, wow. But that was an interesting night.
I just remember, investigating the Grand Theatre in London, Ontario, not London, UK, but London, Ontario. Old theater. And there was a thing going around because it was owned by a gentleman called Ambrose Small.
All right.
And Ambrose Small went missing. A lot of people think he was killed and he was buried within the walls of one of his theaters. So therefore, there was a curse. They kept saying there's a curse at one of the theaters. If you walked into any of his theaters, there was a curse. And I remember going into the Grand Theater and investigating it, and I remember leaving after we had finished the investigation. I remember driving down the main road and going through an intersection, and all of a sudden I hit a car and literally just whacked it. It was a cop car.
Wow.
It was a cop car. He didn't have his cherries on or anything. He just fucking went through the intersection with no notice whatsoever. I had a green light. He still fucking went through. But anyways, a long story short, it's like, was that the curse of Ambrose Small? A weird thing like that happening right after investigating that place. You sit there and you think, wow, okay, was that related to the fucking theater?
Do you know there's another thing as well? Is if somebody's in state. Now I remember there was a woman who used to own the palace who was called Mary Hoyle.
Yeah.
And she died in 1945. She had a heart attack and died. And they put her in state, right, for 2 days in the theater before they buried her. And after that, I mean, so everybody could go around and sign the book and all that malarkey. And she was actually in the middle of the theater for 2 days before they buried her. And then after that, there was all these things happening in the theater after she got buried. And it was like the fact that she'd been in the building for 2 days was probably what sort of started it off. And I've actually been in the theater one time. And I remember going upstairs and, you get certain things like senses, or you'll sense something's around, or you'll smell something. I mean, I remember going up there and I remember smelling perfume, like old dated perfume.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the building is in a hell of a state today. I mean, it's full of fucking pigeon shit for a start. So I mean, to smell perfume over that, it had to be quite prominent. Like, and my friend, she took a picture at the time we smelled it, and there was a great big white thing went through the picture, it was like a bolt of lightning, just went right through the whole picture. And it's crazy, man. It really is, And I said to my mate Cher, I said, "Have you got any perfume on at the moment?" She went, "No, not today."
That's insane.
Yeah, and it was up, and we were up on the top. We were on the top balcony, right up in the eaves. So we're right at the top of the theater in the auditorium, and we're looking over. And I mean, it's a big drop, like about 50-foot, 60-foot drop, and we're just looking over the balcony. And I got this whiff all of a sudden. It just come overpowering smell as well. I was like, Jesus Christ, can you smell that? She went, no. I said, well, I can. I said, it smells like perfume, And apparently that was one of her things like that. Apparently that was one of her things that she showed that she was around, was perfume. Another one was like the sense of being followed around. Somebody seen her once when they were decorating the theater back in 1978 or 79. They were painting the theater auditorium and they saw her up the top wandering across. Yeah. Mary Hoyle.
Crazy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things that's wandering around as well. Like, little kids, don't come and sit on, you're soaking wet. Go away. Go away. So, and there's a lot of other things wandering around. Like, there's apparently her husband wanders around upstairs. Like, his name is Thomas Hoyle.
Yeah.
He's apparently been seen around the offices around the front. There's a young boy that wanders around the steps. There's a guy who went off to war in the First World War. There's another guy who fell off one of the stairs that goes up to the fly tower, fell down 50 foot, died, who wanders around it. It's apparently got 8 ghosts in it. Yeah. Great.
Imagine that. Imagine just living in a place I was contacted. Actually, I was contacted by a business that we had investigated years ago, and the person had bought the business, but they didn't disclose that the business was haunted or supposedly haunted. He had found out later on because he was trying to turn it into a daycare, and trying to hire some of the people to come in and work there. They refused to work. They were like, I'm not going there. That place is haunted. No friggin' way, right? So the guy contacted me and he says, is this place really haunted? And I go, well, that's what they say. Yeah, it's got a lot of stories behind it. I mean, we found some evidence that quite possibly it is, but I told them it was most likely not malevolent, but very subtle, just residual to
Residual,
the location.
yeah.
Something that just plays out, and I don't think it's
That's right.
anything
Yeah.
threatening.
Living their last day is another one as well. Living their last day over and over again, which is another story I have of somebody who who lived in a house that was haunted by an old woman, and she apparently died in her sleep.
Yeah,
and she used to relive her last few hours on the planet over about, and they used to, if you called it about 3:30 in the morning, around about 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, you would see her wander out of her bedroom, wander to the kitchen, go in the kitchen, come back out, wander in the bedroom, and that was it. Brief, very brief, and you could only you couldn't sort of look direct to it.
Yeah,
you could see it out the corner of your eye.
Crazy.
And there was things happening in the house as well. There was things getting moved. There was things getting moved from one room to another. A load of money disappeared in the house at one stage, and they were going absolutely ballistic. Where the hell's this fucking money gone? And next thing you know, the money's found somewhere else in the house.
Yeah.
And there was when it came to actually getting her out, they got a medium in the house. I think they did. They got a medium in, and I remember my mate Steve and his best mate came up to the thing with the medium, and they were sat in the lounge, and they got hold of her, and they said to her, do you want to go to the light? Do you want to go and finish off your journey, because you're obviously stuck here? And she said, yeah, I would like to. And she said, but before I go, I'd like to kiss the lad on the cheek who's next to you, because he reminds me of my son.
Oh, wow.
Right. And he was like, fucking hell, next thing you know, she apparently kissed him on the side of the cheek, and we said, what did he feel like? He said, like a cold breeze.
That's insane. Yeah, that's pretty insane,
but she said, after that, she said, I'll go off and do it, and thank you very much for this. And she went off to where, to the final journey. And she said, but I'll come back every now and again just to show I'm still there. And apparently, right, I know a couple of lads who moved in that flat after.
Yeah.
And I said, did you get anything happening over the years when you were living it? He went, every now and again, something would happen. So she came back, mental.
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. But the thing about kissing old boy on the cheek, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was crazy. I mean, he said, I don't know how to get away with this. He said, I don't know. Shall I say this? And he said, well, go on, just get it out. He said, she'll go only on one thing. She'll kiss old boy on the cheek, because he reminded her of her son. I mean, how fucking when is that? Yeah.
And the description,
that was a few years ago as well. That was
And the whole description of what it felt like when she.
That's what I said to him when he said that to me, right? And he said he was telling the story, and we were like, I said, and I was like, I'm quite interested with that, sort of thing with the mediums and spiritualists, and I said, well, what was it like? I said, kissing you, did you feel it? And he went, yeah, it was just like a cold breeze, like a wet, cold breeze. just down his cheek.
That's insane.
Whoa! I was like, wow, man. And he
That's
wasn't the
insane.
type of guy to bullshit you, man. He was a fucking straight as a die, man. You know, he was on the level. Like, he wasn't going to go, I'm going to fucking wind these these people up. Like, and just go.
Yeah.
But he was genuine. He was genuine what he felt and what was happening in that house that day, and getting her to pass on to the final journey, like, basically, because she was just living in a loop.
Just hanging around, yeah.
Hanging around. And he, on the last day, it's crazy. And that place was the place that is still there now. It's still a flat. It used to be a shop years ago before it was converted to a flat.
Yeah.
So, but it, it's still there to this day. And I met somebody not so long back, probably about 10 years back.
Yeah.
I met somebody and I asked him, I said, did you ever get anything happen to you in there? Like, when you were living it? Because they were in that house for about 2.5 years, the people who moved in it later. And I said, did you get anything happen? Like, anything strange happen? And he went, every now and again, something would happen. Like, things would move or the ironing board would fall over. Stuff like that. It's just, I went, wow. So she still came back.
Crazy
story.
Crazy. That's insane. Yeah. But you hear stories like that all the time, and you're like, something, you can't deny it. Something must be going on.
Gotta be, like I say, this thing about going out after you die. Do we just go off and disappear? I think we go on a spirit plane. That's what I think.
Well, our energy is infinite. I mean, there's the imprint, our essence, I believe, lives on, and it just, where it goes is a whole different ballgame. But I mean, wouldn't that be something else if science was to explain what happens after death? I mean, that's the greatest fucking question, I think.
Well, that's like asking somebody to go and do a flatliner, isn't it? Sit there and die, and then bring them back, and then I say, "What happened?"
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially one of the biggest questions that
There's a few people have said that over the years, haven't they? They've explained it.
I mean, if we know, if we can explain what happens after death, I mean, it literally opens up so many different avenues, and so many questions are answered. I mean, what do you, Alex? What do you think life would be like if we explained what happens to us when we die?
I think there'd be a lot of minds put at ease.
Yeah, but the mystique
put
would
at
also be
east,
ruined, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I
the
think
mystique would be gone.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I mean, there's also the fact, like, I mean, so many people, I mean, one of the biggest worries that a lot of people have is the fear of dying, because not because of the death itself necessarily, it's because they don't know what to expect. Right. On the one hand, throughout the history of modern civilization, you've grown up with this sort of religious belief that if you've done something wrong, you're not going to go to heaven, you're going to go to hell. Whether you believe it or not nowadays is a different story. Right. But you've grown up with that sort of mentality all throughout your whole life, right? So it has a bearing on what you subconsciously think about what happens after you die. So if we were to be able to prove definitively this is what happens to you after you die, regardless of what you did in this life, then it would put a lot of people's minds at ease.
Like I say, like, in my own personal thing is, I've got so many members of the family. It's funny, we were just talking about this at the moment. My brother died a year ago today. So, it's another thing I would love to go and get a message, because I know his boys would love to hear something.
Yeah.
If he got up there all right, did he meet his wife? Did he ease the fucking grief he was having with my mother when he got there? I know my mother, I know for a fact that my mother definitely got in contact within about 6 months of her dying. And she said to me, they're all there.
I
You know?
I do believe so, Frank. Again, our consciousness, I do believe, is a part of our energy imprint.
Yeah.
You know, our energy imprint. I mean, I really do think it does survive, and where it goes is a different story. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's the question that we're trying to figure out. We've been trying to answer for
Do you,
God eternity.
do you think that somebody also comes? I mean, I know in my mother's case, there were
Mm,
the people who were looking after her before she died.
yeah.
She was like sat and she was just looking at a wall, like there was somebody there. And she wasn't saying a word. She just stood, she just sat in the bed glancing at the wall. And then, it was like somebody was stood in the wall, like probably just saying, "Come on, Leslie, on your way."
I mean, excuse me, I've heard some, is it, I'm drawing a blank here with the ITC and their research that they did with EVP, and they were actually did an experiment with a doctor that passed away that worked with a team, and apparently they had made contact with this doctor when he passed on to the other side, and basically this doctor was saying, and you can hear the conversations. They have them somewhere. I don't know where, if they're on the ITC website or not. But you can literally hear these conversations that supposed. I'm not going to say they were real, but I mean they claim they were. That here is this guy saying, "Look at." You aren't living in the real world. You're living in a waiting status, a purgatory. And when you pass through to what life is really about. So I found that fascinating. I'm like, wow, okay. So, I mean, if this is purgatory that we're living right now, what's real life like?
I don't know. Somebody said years ago, like
You know?
we're living in hell. It's when we
Yeah.
die,
Yeah.
we go away from hell.
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of sorry.
When you go away
Ways people have so many different variations of it, and you go to you die and go to heaven. I mean, is probably the most popular, or you die and go to hell. I don't
would
think you
say,
die and go to hell. I think if there is a hell, we're here now. I mean, this is
I'd hope that
you
we
know
went off on like I have the feeling we're on a plane, we're on a spirit plane, we're on a different level to everybody.
John, biblically speaking, John.
Biblically speaking, yeah. But no, I do. I know for a fact. Well, I just know in my head that when I go, I know who's going to come and get me, and that's my father. I'm looking forward to that day, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really am. I miss my father so much. I haven't seen him.
How long has it been since your father
Oh
passed
God,
away?
we're
If
now
you don't mind
coming
me?
now to 33 years.
Oh wow! Holy crap!
Yeah,
Long time.
yeah,
Long time.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
he's the one. He's the one I know. I can't wait for that day, to be honest.
Mm. Well, I mean, you and Alex have something in common with your
Yeah.
fathers. I mean, luckily, I still have my father. My mother passed away. So I mean, I've got an idea, but I don't know what it's like to lose a father yet, and hopefully that
Yeah.
won't happen for a long time. But yeah, it's. I mean, how long has it
Yeah,
been
it's
for you,
been
Alex? It's been
20 years or 20 years.
20 years.
20
So
years.
Yep.
Wow. Man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Never gets any better, does it? Still
No,
as
no, it
raw.
doesn't. I mean,
No, never goes away.
it becomes easier to deal with, but it doesn't. You still have those days when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's just you kind of relive it, the whole thing, right?
I know that he listens to me speaking as well because I've been told. And he said to me, he's come to me through three mediums, He's come to me, and I know he listens. And he's actually, one medium actually said to me, she said, I've got a gentleman here with me who had a stomach problem when he passed. And he's saying to me, he's saying, I can hear what you're saying. I know I did wrong. I know I should have been different when I was with your mother. You know, and he sort of corrected everything he'd done wrong, like in that one sort of communication, like, you know. So he knew I talked to him over the years, and I said why, you know, because my dad was a bit of a rogue, really. He actually punched me old dear in the face, like, and that's why they split up. You know, so you know, and he was more interested in his lifestyle than he had looking after me and my mother, like, you know. So that was probably one reason. And there was a lot of other things going on. And you know, he came and apologized. He said, "You know, I know I did wrong. I know I should have been different. I do regret it." You know, so
And this is after, right? This is after he passed away.
yeah. This is
Yeah.
I had him come to me.
Mhm.
First time he came was about early 2000s.
Yeah.
He came to somebody in a spiritualist church. He came over, and he was having a go at me because I basically blew all his money. I basically blew all his money he'd worked hard for, and he inherited to me. I basically blew it a lot. So he came over and he said to the person, I just want to give him a clout round the back of the head, like, you know, which is a classic thing he used to do when he was a kid. Like, so he wasn't happy. I know that for a fact. Like, you said that. And then he came again. Then he came again about 5 years later. And then the recent one was in the teens of the 20s, like when I last went to a spiritualist church. And I also had an ex-girlfriend who came to me as well in the spiritualist church. Yeah, that was quite fucking insane as well. That was a mad one. That was totally.
I bet. Holy.
Yeah.
Well, I yeah, it's that time. We're done.
Come to the end already.
Yeah, well, our regular 2-hour show, buddy. But I'm sure we'll do an a longer live throughout the week or whatever. I'm off. I'm off. I'm off for 2 weeks.
Are you off for 2 weeks? Yeah?
I'm off for 2 weeks,
Well,
man.
so there's going to be plenty afternoon lives then, is there?
Maybe some afternoon lives, some maybe on locations. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see.
Man. Cool.
We'll see what's going on. I'm sure I'll bring some stuff up. So, but guys, you know, I want to thank everybody who tuned in
thanks for having me up.
Watch. John, thank no. Thanks for
taking over. Like,
no, you didn't, man. Thank you. I really appreciate the story, man. And everybody else. You know what? And of course, Michael. Fucking Michael was awesome, man.
Oh, mate. He knows the guy who started off the Human League.
Yep. Yeah,
wow.
he's in there with a lot of well-known people. He's done a lot of work with a lot of musicians, and pretty fascinating shit, man. Like I said, I will post the link when I find his Bandcamp with the amount of different samples. It's just incredible.
Cool.
Really cool. As he mentioned, he gave all these musician friends of his an EVP sample, and he said, "Give me your interpretation of it." And dude, I'm telling you, they're fucking really cool. They're really cool. So I'll find the link and I'll post that on here on the description.
Anything with acid involved in it.
Yeah, exactly. He's a great guy. Michael's an awesome guy. So definitely we'll have Michael back on. We love having Michael. It's just been a long time. So it was great to catch up and have him back on the show. But guys, take care. Thank you. And anyone listening on New Visions Radio Network, everybody else, Twitch and YouTube, guys, take care. Have a good evening.
Cheers for that. Bye.